Residential sales comparison and income approaches, page 170. Extra notes: ERV income over rate and value. Extra no gross rent multiplier. The error in the gross rent multiplier means rate. You take the market rent, find a comparable and divide from extraneous. The GRM requires market rent. Assume all units at market value. 100% occupancy. Extraneous test question: 100% no vacancies, which is assumes when you Residential sales comparison and income approaches, page 170. Extra notes: ERV income over rate and value. Extra no gross rent multiplier. The error in the gross rent multiplier means rate. You take the market rent, find a comparable and divide from extraneous. The GRM requires market rent. Assume all units at market value. 100% occupancy. Extraneous test question: 100% no vacancies, which is assumes when you apply GRM multipliers. A multiplier is a factor that is derived from market data and applied to the subject's market rent or income to produce a value indication in an income approach. For the residential appraiser, the use of multipliers will be the most frequently employed income valuation technique in a market value assignment. The gross rent multiplier, GRM, and the gross income multiplier, GIM, are discussed here. While the use of these multipliers is fairly simple, the derivation and application of a multiplier must be carefully performed. Therefore, there are some very important things to keep in mind when using this technique. Rateway Pro Park Marker rent a comparable divide from in the GRM and the GIM. Consider only the gross rent or income of the property, and, therefore, do not consider expense items. The GRM and the most common form of the GIM do not consider any losses attributable to vacancy of the living units and or inability to collect rent. The market rent used in the application of a GRM to the subject property, or in the case of a GIM, total income, must reflect market level. The comparable properties must be very similar physically and in lease terms and conditions. Gross rent multiplier GRM. Developing a value opinion using the GRM technique of income capitalization consists of just two primary steps. 1. Determine the appropriate GRM from market data. 2. Apply the GRM to the subject's market rent to indicate a value conclusion. Inconsistent, irrelevant, or poorly analyzed information applied when utilizing the GRM or the GIM technique can lead to misleading or poor results, while the actual steps in using a multiplier are relatively simple in application. The technique can yield misleading or false results if the data being used for the analysis is inconsistent, irrelevant, or not well analyzed. Let's take a closer look at how the GRM is derived and applied. Determining the GRM from market data. To derive a GRM from market data, the value of the comparable property is divided by that property's gross market rent to conclude on a multiplier that can be used in later analysis. When used in a market value appraisal assignment, this data will be extracted from arm's length transactions of properties that were rented at the time of the sale transaction or rented soon after the sale at a verifiable market level rent. Ideally, this information comes from the appraiser's own files data collected in the course of other appraisal assignments. However, the data could also come from other 170 IRY OF GRMP Juves marks at market VALUTARY GRM.